Cyberpunk 2077, a video game that has almost been on more of an intense roller coaster than the one you actually experience in this universe. In December of 2020, CD Projekt Red released Cyberpunk 2077 to the world, including myself. Yes, I was there on day one and even had the game pre-ordered. I was really excited. Cyberpunk as a genre is something I really gravitate towards and find extremely interesting. So when I heard that CD Projekt Red was developing a dark, gritty, cyberpunk sci-fi universe starring Keanu Reeves, I was already hooked. But to my disappointment, as I was playing this game on the day it launched, I was met with more bugs than I could have possibly imagined, and a gameplay / progression system that felt empty and boring. After an honest effort with this video game, I gave up on it. Fast forward more than 4 years later, and this game has seemingly gone through a plethora of patches, gameplay updates, a highly praised DLC, and even a fantastic Netflix anime show. Or so I was told by the many. So now, to start this new year in 2025, I have taken it upon myself to pick this game back up and see what all the fuss is about. And wow. But before we begin, this is my first ever Cyberpunk video, so if you're new to the channel, welcome in. I cover a number of my favorite sci-fi video games on this channel like Mass Effect, Starfield, etc. And Cyberpunk 2077 can now potentially fit right into that criteria. So if you enjoy this video and you love Cyberpunk 2077, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for potentially more Cyberpunk content in the future and all things sci-fi gaming. Now, let's get right into it. Let's start off my quick review of the first time I've played Cyberpunk 2077 with the biggest part of the game that I had the largest issue with when I first played it back in 2020. And that, of course, being all of the technical aspects and performance issues that I and most others had when this game initially launched. And to be honest with you, I think this is where they have by far made the most strides between then and now. And of course, in a game this big, bugs are still present, and I had my fair share of them, but none of them were really game-breaking at all, and they were few and far between. Coming back and seeing the game this much more polished really allowed me to dive into the immersiveness of this universe and this video game and enjoy it on a level that I didn't think was possible before. And not even talking about the stability and the bug aspects of this game, it performs way better than I even expected coming into this playthrough in 2025. Throughout the years, I've always had a pretty decent PC build, but even back in 2020, I struggled to keep over 60 frames, which is usually my benchmark for what I enjoy playing a video game, especially on PC. But this time, with the settings maxed out, I couldn't believe the stability and performance I was getting with this game. Not only was I getting high frame rates the entire time, it was stable, it was staying there. I couldn't believe how good the performance experience with this new version of Cyberpunk 2077 was. It honestly felt like I was playing a brand new game, and like I said earlier, it allowed me to dive into the immersive aspect of this game so much more because I never had any performance issues or bugs that would take me out of that immersion. I just got to dive right in, and it felt so smooth. I couldn't believe a game this big felt this smooth and polished. It's honestly something that's pretty unbelievable to me. And this leads us into the second biggest issue I had with this game back in the day, and that was the gameplay. Like the overall performance and stability of the gameplay also felt unpolished and uninspired, just like the progression system as well. Because I'm telling you, I do not remember this game being this fun to play. The amount of different builds you can do and how much versatility there is within this new revamped skill tree that the game has felt so refreshing, and I do not, like I said, I do not remember having this much fun with the game the first time. I strive for combat missions so often in this game because I just can't wait for the next opportunity to test out my new skills, my new weapons, everything. It was just so much fun. And with the progression and skill tree fleshed out so much more than it was before, you really can feel yourself getting more and more powerful throughout the game in a way that feels a lot better than it did when it comes to the pacing. It's honestly, it's just so good now, I can't explain it. And when it comes to any RPG, not just Cyberpunk 2077, the gameplay isn't something that's on the forefront of my mind at all times. It's definitely the secondary afterthought when it comes to an RPG narrative heavy game like Cyberpunk 2077. But I couldn't help just looking forward to actually playing this game every time I logged on. And even with how good this gameplay has become, it still isn't my favorite part of this game. And we'll get to that at the end of this video, but let's keep progressing through that thought process. The story and characters in Cyberpunk 2077 isn't something I fully remember from my first attempt at playing this game, but I also don't remember having any distaste for it at all. It was just something I needed to re-experience again with a fresh mindset like I just did. And wow, I was not expecting literally any of this. I was not. The story sucks you in right away once you get in to Night City. It's a very unique take on the classic coming of age story with a different, darker, unique twist on it where you don't really know if you're the hero or the villain or what. You as V are really just trying to survive and make a name for yourself. And really, the good times, quote unquote, in this game really only last for the first couple hours or so, because from there you just hit rock bottom, and then when you think you've hit rock bottom, you hit rock bottom again, and this game just keeps slapping you across the face with its story, and it's just so heartbreaking and intense. I couldn't believe it. I haven't had a single entry to a video game sci-fi series impact me this emotionally since I don't even know. And with how dark and gritty and emotional this main story gets and makes you feel, and how you seem to just keep taking bad news and loss after loss, for a lack of a better term, the bright spot of this story and the things that always pick you back up, at least for me, were the characters of Cyberpunk 2077. The way these characters are written and performed by their voice actors allows you to connect with them on a level that at first probably wouldn't even seem possible. The writing and the performances by the actors for these characters are some of the best you'll find in gaming. And not just as V, but also as us, the player. These characters are the rock that we lean on through this dark and gritty universe and story that is being told. Jackie, Judy, Panam, Johnny Silverhand, just to name a few of my absolute favorites. They are such bright spots in this game, and they really allow V and the player to anchor onto them, and when all things seem lost, these characters and the relationships that you build with them truly are the bright spot of this video game. It's such beautiful storytelling and writing and character development for everyone. I can't even explain how pleasant that was of an experience. And the romances, oh my gosh, the romance I did. I romanced Panam, which I assume is probably the basic gamer romance for this game, but I'm so glad that I did. It was written and paced so beautifully and has such a good payoff. I loved it. It was absolutely one of my favorite romances I've ever experienced in a video game. And my favorite video game series is Mass Effect, so the bar is high. So just seeing kind of how all in they went with these characters and how well it was executed, it was great. And as an RPG player and a sci-fi RPG player, the story and the characters, that's what needs to hit with the game. And Cyberpunk 2077 hit it out of the park. But not even that is my favorite thing about this game, or even the best part, in my opinion. It's not the gameplay, it's not the story, it's not the characters. It's actually the main character of this video game. And no, I'm not talking about V. I'm talking about Night City itself. The setting, the world, this area that we are essentially locked in playing this video game the entire time. Not only are we witnessing V and the other characters progress throughout this story and this game, but we're doing the same with Night City as well. Night City is by far one of the best, if not the best, open world settings I've ever seen in a video game. Not only because of the way it's crafted, how dynamic encounters are done, how well some of these set pieces are made, and how the exploration of this city and landscape is so fantastic. It's also because of how well you can see this place progress. Night City truly is its own character, and in my opinion, and how I experience it, is the main character of this game, and we're just a little germ trapped inside of it. Not since a game like Skyrim or Fallout have I wanted to just open this RPG narrative heavy game and just run around the city and do random stuff like I was playing Grand Theft Auto or something like that. This game and this world felt exactly like what a modern day Bethesda game should feel like. Except Cyberpunk 2077 takes their own twist on it and just goes above and beyond anything I could have asked for an RPG in an open world setting like this. But of course, it's not all perfect. I do have a few gripes still with this game. Be that not many at all, quite frankly. The first and probably most important issue I have with Cyberpunk 2077 is some of the pacing. Most of the time, I feel like this game is paced pretty well, where it feels pretty natural going from doing one main mission to a series of side missions and exploration, and then going back to the main story. I feel like that's paced fairly well, although I feel like the amount of great side content that there is in this game kind of takes away from the fact that V is dying and probably should have that solution at the forefront of his mind and trying to do that as much as possible, rather than doing all this other side stuff that in game could take weeks, months, however long you do it. But honestly, that's not that big of a problem because all the side stuff in this game is so good and unique that I'm willing to give it a pass. The biggest pacing issue I actually had in this game comes with the almighty and highly praised Phantom Liberty DLC. More on Phantom Liberty in just a second. But just a quick note regarding what I mean, I find it extremely odd that this DLC triggers in the middle of Act 2 when it feels like it should be something that is done towards the end of the game. And having Songbird call you up randomly, just kind of unwarranted and not being chosen by the character, makes it feel like it's forcing you to do the Phantom Liberty DLC in the middle of Act 2 instead of waiting towards the end, because then you have to accept this phone call from Songbird and then probably forget about it and do all the rest of the main game stuff and then do Phantom Liberty at the end. And if not, you have to do it in the middle of Act 2, which after playing Phantom Liberty, I don't think fits very well in the middle of the game at all. It definitely feels like, at least to me, something that should be done really, really close to the point of no return. And just another thing I wish was in this game is a third-person camera. Not for gameplay or anything, I actually really do think this game is best served in first person. When I'm just walking around Night City, maybe a third-person mode would be nice, and then if I get into combat or any other gameplay or cutscenes or something like that, it takes me back into the third person. But in an RPG, and especially one where there's an in-depth character creator like Cyberpunk 2077, I like to see my character as much as possible. And even though there are plenty of moments where we get to see V's face and look throughout the game, it wasn't quite enough for my liking, so that's still just a little bit of annoyance, but again, it's something I'm willing to wave off because it's not that big of a deal. But overall, I am very, very glad that I waited almost 5 years later to try this game again after it released, because man, this is one of the best video games I have ever played in my entire life. And right now I am so hyper fixated on the Cyberpunk universe. I already watched the anime, that was great. I want to read the book so bad. I am so entranced by this universe, and I cannot wait for more Cyberpunk content in the future. And oh yeah, I did mention Phantom Liberty earlier, and I definitely have some thoughts on that as well that probably deserves its own video. So if you enjoyed this video and you want more Cyberpunk 2077 content on this channel, including my thoughts on my first ever playthrough of Phantom Liberty, please leave a like on this video and subscribe for all things sci-fi gaming, and please leave a comment down below what you thought of this video and what you think of my interpretation of Cyberpunk 2077. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you guys.